We're going to do some intros here for myself and Courtney, and then we'll jump into the content here today of our webinar.
Awesome.
Courtney, do you want to kick it off?
Yes, my name is Courtney. I live in Louisiana. I'm originally from Arkansas, and I am the social media coordinator here at Chatterkick. I've been here for about a year, almost a year. So it's coming up. I'm excited.
Awesome. My name is Luis Trejo. I'm the COO here at Chatterkick. I am located in South Dakota, and so go Midwest. And one of the platforms I'm really into right now is TikTok, and specifically kind of like the behind the scenes music types of things. I'm a big music fan, so I love seeing, the artists and them getting those behind the scene cuts where they're less polished and professional, maybe going off the cuff a little bit more. I just think there's a lot of talent out there, and I like to see how it's exposed kind of in that organic way.
I love that. I love behind the scenes things too. My favorite platform is Instagram, and I also love influencer marketing, and I love movies. So I like behind the scenes too. I feel like you get to see people in their element, and then see like bloopers are always funny, seeing people in their just human state, natural state before everything gets chopped and like you said, polished, ready to go out. So that's cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, welcome to everybody here in the chat. We'll go ahead and get started. We have some great topics, I think, today to talk through some, common comments that we receive around things. So we tried to take those that we receive kind of in our everyday work here at Chatterkick, tried to put some of those into some higher level topics, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper, show some examples of things. As we're going through, feel free to drop questions into the comments section. We'll grab those as we can as we go through, and then save some of those for the end when we do kind of more of a Q&A. But I think we're ready to dive in. So go ahead and we got a nice little slide deck to kind of guide our conversation today. Again, feel free to ask questions as we go along. All right, some ethical and legal things that we're going to be talking about today. So social media pitfalls. Now, one thing that I will say, kind of kick this off, is neither Court or I are attorneys. So this is an informational webinar, but I think we have a lot of best practices in here. We'll have a lot of examples of things we've seen before, and some real life things. So that should be helpful. If you need to dive super deep, love to take your questions, today here or outside of this conversation. And then if you need something more of on a legal front or more clarification there, we just encourage you to reach out to a qualified attorney.
Absolutely.
All right, Court, we'll let you kick it off with something that's, it's been out there for a while now. It's getting more and more popular. It continues to flood the marketplace, which is really just content that's being made out there by other people. And maybe they're making content just to show to their friends and family. Maybe they're just doing it as a personal journal, whatever the case might be. But that content is actually called something and can be used for your business. So you want to kick it off from there?
Absolutely. Two of the things that we are looking at would be UGC versus CGC. So UGC is user-generated content, and CGC would be that creator-generated content. So the difference between two of these, I will actually start with CGC first. The creator-generated content are things that we're used to seeing in influencer marketing. This is where a brand has partnered with an influencer and a creator to actually put out content. Now, with both of these different types of content, because it is published online, you can't just assume that you're able to take that content and then reshare it and repurpose it for your own content on your own platforms. You want to make sure that you're being respectful to the creators and that you have established the necessary permissions to be able to use this content. So with creator generated content, we have um, examples that we'll be able to show you of what this looks like on your timeline. And so with generated content, you are able to notice a few things right off the bat. There will be things such as hashtags, and there will also be labels on this content. As you can see here, the hashtag ad lets you know that this creator has partnered with a brand. Whenever you're dealing with CGC, there are contracts in place, there are agreements in place, and there has also been a monetary exchange for the brand to be able to have this creator produce content on their behalf. You to know that this content has been sponsored and paid for, because that can influence your decision. So you can also see here, there is content that has, sponsored, partnership, also the paid partnership label at the very top will show the creator's name and the company's name. That shows you there was a collaboration done here, so that you can understand this is not necessarily just an organic piece of content that they are sharing their personal feelings or reviews about the product. They want to, paint the brand in a good light and put out a piece of content that can result in sales or growth for the brand.
And this,
The next thing that we're going to look at is more into the user generated content.
And this kind of goes back into the ethical side of things around like making sure that you're listing, that it's an ad. And in these particular cases here, like these are, like celebrities, well-known faces. But in the case that you may be working with, a different creator influencer that, is not of this magnitude from like people that are well-known, the kind of, the using the hashtags and making sure that you're saying that it's a paid partnership, it kind of goes to the ethical side of things. Is that right? Looks like we might have lost Court there for a second. So really, in these particular situations, like I said, these are heavier and more recognized people and brands. But in the case that maybe, let's say that you're trying to drill down farther, maybe you're trying to drill down to a more local level, right? And there are different types of influencers. So there are influencers that are called micro influencers, and typically those are influencers that have followers in that like 10,000 to 50 to $100,000 or 100 follower range. And then you have even lower than that, which is what they call nano influencers, which is those, smaller people that are out there that are still creating things that still might be influencing in the way that you need them to influence in your community or for your business. But these are kind of those best practices to kind of understand, like, it from an ethical perspective, including things like the hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored should be used.
Absolutely. And when you go into the contracts and negotiation processes, influencers definitely will let you know what their fees are, and you want to make sure that you are being fair and just going through an ethical negotiation process to compensate an influencer the way they should be. And we can talk about user-generated content now. So with the user-generated content, you are looking at content that was posted by a creator, and it is not in collaboration with a brand. This is their authentic, organic content that they have decided to share on their own personal platform. With that, if you come across a piece of content that you want to use or share or repurpose, you want to ask for permission.
And you can kind of see an example of that on the right-hand side of, how to do that. How do you ask for permission for to use someone's content that they've created themselves. And so it's a really fairly simple process, right? It's really just getting that permission. I think the big thing on the back end of that for you as a business or a brand is to make sure that you're getting evidence of this. So an easy way to do that is just to merely take a screenshot of, your brand or business asking to use that content, and then keeping that along with any other materials that you might need to show like what type of image that was, so on and so forth. I do think, one thing to kind of look out for is if you are looking for this user generated content out there and you see that there could be other things in the background, right? And I think that's one thing to kind of be aware of is like, just because a person is creating a piece of content that they're calling their own, you might have to be looking to what's in the background as well, because maybe they're standing in front of a building that, has a logo that has a trademark or a copyright or something like that. So, just a kind of a tip there as you're sourcing and looking for this type of content on what you might be looking for in the background of those images too. And while we wait for Court to come back, we'll, if you have questions on influencers, this user-generated content, which is content that is, sourced from people just making it, as opposed to creator-generated content, which is content that is being typically paid for, feel free to post those in the comments and we can get to those. One other thing about creator generated content, which is the paid version of that, is that I was reading the study that they did because they really wanted to see from an influence perspective, like what the difference was between having a creator that's, say, being given strict and narrow guidelines from a brand as opposed to one that's kind of just being given creative freedom to do what they want. And what the study was taking into account was about 1,000 contracts or so for these creators. And they ran it through this study. And what they found is the more stringent the rules for the creator from the brand, the less participation that they got. So there was around, I think it was 28% less participation of creators even wanting to get into those paid contracts, just because they felt like that their creative influence was going to be constrained by the brand. So just something to think about. I think there can be a nice harmony of the two, where you're giving some guidelines for your brand or your business and what you want to happen, but also opening up that other side, giving that creator, the latitude to really, they know what their audience is looking for. And so let them kind of put those pieces together. But I think marrying the two is a really good place to be. So Court, I think the other thing with UGC, which is, kind of that non-paid side of things, is there's really a lot of value to that I don't think that like always gets captured or talked about. Is that something you can expand on a little bit?
Yes, there is thousands of dollars of content out there, especially like we talked about earlier with CGC and being able to compensate these influencers for the content that they are giving to the brand. For someone to create content for you and allow you to reshare it and repost it to your page, those are dollars that your brand is able to save, reallocate to different areas of marketing. And so just by getting the proper permissions, being able to reach out to that influencer, screenshot, the interaction of them giving you permission, and then resharing that content to your page, you are able to really be able to put content out there that saves your team time. It saves you cost. It allows you to not have to come up with the video content yourself or the photos yourself if you're able to find quality content online. And so it's something that's very lucrative for brands and very valuable.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Let's maybe continue on this train of influencers and maybe talk a little bit more about, deception that might be out there, or things like fake engagement?
Absolutely. There are all different types of businesses in the world. And one of those would be harvesting followers and being able to sell followers to brands and influencers so that they can look more popular or seem to have a bigger following than what they actually have. So here we have an example of just a company that is reaching out to ask if you would like to purchase followers and be able to increase your following, increase your engagement. They promise you authentic in comments and likes and things on your posts. And this is not something that you want to solicit or fall into, because the fake engagement presents a huge risk. For one, your brand and your company, you're investing in this influencer and this creator and hoping that you can get authentic sales and conversions from these posts. You're hoping that you can get more visibility, that you can get your brand in front of more eyes, and that's not what's happening. A lot of times these accounts are fake, they can be bots, and they are simply there to like and comment, but they're never actually going to interact with your brand. They're not going to follow. They're not going to send this to a family, friend that could benefit from what it is that you have. And sometimes it can be hard to spot, but we have another example here where you can see sometimes they comment the same exact message. They have similar engagement. And so whenever you're doing your due diligence of looking into an influencer, you want to make sure that the numbers on their page make sense. If they have 1 million followers, 25 likes, 1,000 comments, and those comments are like repeating things or they don't have anything to do with the post, these can all be red flags that this creator is participating in purchasing followers and getting fake engagement. And back to making the most of your marketing and your ad dollars, you want to make sure that your brand is not at risk of wasting that money and wasting ad money promoting yourself to an audience that's not really an audience or is not really there. And then also, which I'll let you talk about this a little bit more, Louise, there are guidelines that influencers are to follow. So when we talked earlier about influencers and creators putting hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored by this person or paid by this person, is to let you know what type of content they're putting out there and that they do have collaborations with brands. If you notice someone promoting a brand and they're not, fully disclosing their relationship with that brand, then that's also another red flag. And you may not want to work with creators that are not forthcoming about their business dealings.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's like the question that you have is like, okay, like what is the best practice, or like what, we talked about like the hashtag ad, hashtag sponsor, like what are some of those things that have been outlined by the FTC? And the FTC actually put out a really nice little PDF. We'll go ahead and post that in the comments section here.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a really good resource for not only the brand, just to be understanding of, okay, like how should these things be listed in a particular partnership, but also the way in like how they should be disclosed. And so it gives some best practices. They're not like black and white, like you have to use these specific ones, but it gives different examples of those types of things that the influencers can be putting on their particular posts, should they be something that they're being paid for, or it's an ad for something like that. It looks like we do. If you have questions, again, please continue to bring those into the comments. It looks like we have a question here that maybe we can address. So Courtney, how do you recommend determining whether or not UGC or CGC is right for your brand? What steps would you kind of look for there?
This would actually start off with your marketing budget. If you have dollars that you can allocate towards influencer marketing and CGC content, then you can put those dollars aside. You can reach out to those creators and get that content made. Of course, that's going to come with things, like I said, contracts for creating the content, posting the content, and then even how long you can use that content. So you want to look at how long you want to keep this content in rotation. Do you have the spend to put with this content that this creator is going to place out there for you? If you're not really ready to pay influencers and pay for that CGC, then UGC is going to be where you want to go. It's nice to be able to ask someone for permission and kind of do that trade. You're able to get quality content. They are able to say, hey, I was posted by this brand. They can reshare it to their story or their page. A lot of influencers are really excited to do that and to be able to just have that brand post their content. So that's a way to determine which way you would like to go. Now, even if you have the spend, sometimes it's just nice to use that user generated content as another source of content, creation. If you are already using your team and you're creating X amount of videos and photos a month, this is just a way for you to retrieve extra content that's not costing your team or is not, causing you to have to spend more hours developing the content yourself.
Yeah, that's really great tips there. I think the other thing too is, if you find that you're looking for that UGC because maybe you're on a limited budget or whatever, and you're going out there and you're searching, maybe there's a creator out there that's continually like catching your eye. Like that could be an opportunity for you to open the door. Like if you say, I want to kind of take the step from UGC over to the creator side of things where maybe there's a little bit of budget, that could be a good, nice way to kind of make that transition or do that from just a small little stepping stone as opposed to just going right into it with the big budget. All right. Great questions. Thanks for bringing those through. We've talked a little bit about influencers already. Let's move into another topic that we get a lot of questions about, which is reviews and testimonials. Okay. This is a example of an email that I got just the other day. I get these somewhat regularly. I think I've heard from other business owners that they get these as well. And they typically sound about the same. And it's basically, hi, I can get you more reviews that are positive. You should reach back out to me, type of thing. So number one, obviously, be very leery of these types of reviews and these types of requests. More than likely, if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So you can steer clear of these. But I do think that what some of the things that are happening out there in the landscape is a few of the things that we brought here as examples. So number one, the government, the FTC itself, last fall announced a final ruling that helps give them more enforcement around these types of fakes, reviews, and testimonials. So, just because maybe you receive an email or a message that's like, hey, I can help you out by getting you more reviews or taking down bad reviews, obviously be very, very leery of those. But on top of that, now there are rules and potentially even fines that can be given down by the FTC for pages and platforms of companies and brands that they see are doing those types of things. Next, AI is a huge thing, right? AI is everywhere. It's being baked into everything that's out there these days. And platforms like Google, so for Google My Business, for where you're representing yourselves potentially for the first time, maybe someone comes into an area and they Google whatever brand your business is or the type of company that you work in, or maybe you're a restaurant, right? And they're looking for somewhere to go. Reviews start to populate along with your phone number on your Google business page and everything like that. Now, platforms like Google and Yelp are using these AI tools in order to identify these types of fake reviews that might be out there. and also taking them down. So just an example screenshot here of something that you might see that may look like a fake review, right? A lot of times they have very similar wording. They sometimes can sort of kind of make sense, but maybe not. As you can see in these two here, they both call out like being 5-star reviews in kind of an interesting and awkward way. A lot of times they'll be packaged together like within a short time frame. So you might see a bunch of similar type reviews that are happening, in a few days or a few weeks. So again, just other things to be on the lookout for. And if you were to answer an email or a message that says like, hey, I can help get you reviews, like this might be what you're getting. And then lastly, like on the ethical side of things, so like how for you as a brand do you start to encourage these reviews, right? So you can bake these into different parts of your process, whether that's an after the sale process or you have some sort of cadence for reaching out to your customers, and either talking to them about how their service went and then giving them the opportunity to leave a review. The example that I have on here is maybe one that a lot of people don't often do. So this is coming from a Google review, and this is actually in response to this customer's name was Leah, and she originally gave a 1-star review, and she wrote the experience that she had. The owners of the business replied back to her, saying, we're sorry that this happened to you. We really want to try to do whatever we can to make this right. Here's a way to contact us. Well, she did reach out and contact them. They were able to get her issues worked through. And this is a great way where, yes, as a business owner, as employees of businesses, you want to protect your brand. You want to make sure that you're looking great. I think it's okay for you to say, would you be willing to update based on what's happened now, the reviews that you left before? And you can see that Leah did that here. And so I think this is just a really great example of like an ethical way for businesses and brands to encourage an experience maybe after the fact. So, all right. I'll pause here for just a second. I know we've been through a little bit around the influencer side of things, the user-generated content, which is the non-paid, the creator-generated content, which is the paid, and now looking through some reviews and testimonials. Feel free if you have questions. Again, just drop them into the comments section, and we can address those. So. After going through reviews, another topic, Court, that we even talk about internally a lot is memes. And memes are great. Memes are funny. We pass memes around our office, through our chat all the time, and they're great. But what are the things that we need to start to look out for, with memes? And do you want to tell a little bit more about that, Courtney?
Absolutely. Memes, they create an environment that we can all participate in. When we see something that we can relate to, it's humorous, it allows us to share it and be able to just be a part of like a global inside joke. So it's really fun. But as a brand, you want to be careful about resharing and repurposing memes. This is still someone's original content. This is still something that was made and created by them. And there are also memes that are protected by different licenses. So you want to make sure that you're still going through the proper channels to find the original meme and try to reach out to that creator and get the permission to use this meme. This will keep you from running into copyright issues and having the DMCA take down your content, and also just giving proper credit to that user, making sure you have fair use of it, and that you're also, not doing theft. You want to make sure that as a company, you keep your brand trustworthy and as credible as possible.
Yeah, I think, the the meme side of things, we do have an example here too of how platforms have started to give better opportunities for you to give credit for someone that potentially has made a meme. And one of those examples is a duet. So this is a screenshot here of a duet that's on TikTok where, on one side of the screen could be the meme of what has been happening, and you can reference the creator of that meme on one side, and then on the other side might be your own content, right? And so in this particular example, I don't have the video here to play, but the person who is on the right hand side is like talking through, in this instance, something about buying a home, and the meme on the other side is giving funny faces or making points and gestures that may be familiar from a meme concept. And so this is a really nice way that like platforms are starting to realize, like, hey, there are these potential legal challenges out there. How do we make this a little bit easier for the users of our platform and try to like minimize those risks?
Absolutely. And then one reoccurring theme would just be making sure you keep your credibility, your trust. A lot of the things that we've talked about so far cover that, even with the reviews, even with resharing content, things like that. I see we also have another question here about someone leaving a positive comment or soliciting positive comments. Earlier, I know Louise showed us how you're able to go in, take ownership of something that happened during a review, and then that person can go back and leave another comment of just saying, this company made this right, they fixed this for me. Myself, as a consumer, when I see a brand go in and go through the proper channels to solve an issue that happened, use a meme correctly, pay creators for their content, it makes me want to patronize their business even more. I'm like, here's a brand who knows what's going on online. They're in with the memes and the conversations that we're having. They are addressing any issues that customers may have. And they are also taking their marketing and they're putting it into creators and individuals and giving them a platform to share their content. This is someone that I would love to buy what they're selling. So you just want to make sure that you keep that credibility and that trust with your audience and people that may shop with your business.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do think it's okay, if someone does, leave a positive comment about something that happened for your brand on a post, probably one of the better ways to go about that is you can go right into like a private message and just say, hey, I really appreciate your comments about what happened in your experience. Like, if you feel the need to share those, we collect those on our Google profile, or so giving them a nice, easy landing in order to get to a spot without making it feel, too much like a pressure or even salesy. So I think those are good ways.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Court, we're getting close to the end here. This is another topic that we get questions about, and it tends to happen because, there are distinctions between our personal lives and our business lives, but for some people, those two blend together a lot. And it's important to understand, at least from like a platform perspective, what does that really mean, and how should you approach, maybe you're a business owner and you're working off of, I'm trying to portray myself as a person online, and I'm also trying to portray that person in the business. And so how do you start to draw those lines and those distinctions? And so we put together a few best practices and pointers here on what that might be, and in some of the ways that like the platforms are looking to say, like, well, that doesn't really work with the way that they're designed. And so I think the best way to do this is to kind of take this as an example. Okay. And I'm going to use the Meta platforms, or Facebook and Instagram, as an example. So let's say, for an example, you're a business owner and you already have like a Facebook page set up, and you're saying, now I have this business and I want to start promoting it, and I want to start, letting everyone know about this, right? Can you do that on your personal profile? Yes, you can, talk about your business. Where the platforms start to look at is if you are using just your personal profiles to talk about your business, to potentially advertise about your business, and all your interactions are running through a personal profile. So as a best practice, in this example for Meta, we would recommend that you set up a overarching business manager. Okay, so that's kind of like the house for all of your business, like Facebook assets or Instagram assets. And then underneath that business manager, you can create your business page. Okay, so then at that point, you'd have your personal page, you'd have a business manager, which is a place to house your business things, and you'd have a business page. And other things that you might want in that house for your business are like an ad account. So maybe you want to start running ads for your business. Now you want to be doing that in your business account. Okay. It is possible to run business ads on a personal account, but that is looked down on. Okay. And those are things that could potentially get you flagged. It could potentially get your pages shut down and so forth. So really you want to keep that distinction between the business and the personal. And a good way to do that is to have that business manager account set up to kind of house all of your business things. And then, feel free to talk about your business things back and forth with the pages, right? And I think that totally makes sense. It's just when you're trying to blur the two together too closely knit, that sometimes that can bring up some issues and problems.
Absolutely. And then for any type of business relations, when you're going through that business ad manager and you're setting up these ads, there are questions that you will have to answer, verify your business, because there are certain categories online that have restrictions. So as Louise is saying, you cannot then go back and say, well, okay, my business may be restricted against posting this information, but maybe I can run it through a personal account to see if I can get around this ad restriction, which is also something you don't want to do. If you have to question it, then you probably should not do it. That's going to keep you on the safe side, keep you on the ethical side, and you want to make sure that you're being as truthful as possible when you are going through the setup process of your business accounts, when you're going through the setup process of your ad manager and any type of campaign that you're running. Fill out those questions, target the right audiences, and make sure that you're not, trying to find a way to get around the restrictions that have been placed to protect people online, to protect the audience that you're going to be engaging with every day.
So true. So true. Well, we've reached the end of our time here today. We've been really happy to kind of share some of these best practices, these tips, ways to stay ethical, and hopefully they're conversation starters, for you and your brand and your business. And I think, it's really kind of about the human element of this, right? Right, Court?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of my favorite things about Chatterkick is how much emphasis we put on human connection. And so social media started as a way for communities to come together, share pictures, videos, conversations, and now it has moved into this business realm. And we want to make sure we're still being humans. We're still treating people as people, not as business transactions. We're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes or trick them into anything. We want to make sure that we are establishing a genuine relationship.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we have, a few minutes here left. So we do want to open it up for Q&A. We also want to say, like, if you joined maybe a little bit late, don't forget to drop your name and your LinkedIn profile here in the chat. We'd love to connect with all of you and, keep these conversations going if we need to. But we do want to open up the Q&A. So If there's anything about what we discussed, whether that's around the UGC rights, influencer partnerships, fake reviews, any of the topics that we've covered today, we'd love to answer those. So please go ahead and place your questions in the chat, and we can get those.
Absolutely. It seems like we have a question already. What should a brand do if they accidentally use UGC without permission? How can they fix it? This goes back to taking ownership of what has happened. Reach out to that creator, get the proper permission, make sure you have that permission stored, notated somewhere, and then make sure you are tagging that creator. So putting some type of hashtag or something to make sure that you are letting people know this is UGC content, it's from this creator, and that you're not trying to take credit for the content that they put out there.
Yeah. Just go back and try to make it right?
Definitely. And if the creator says, oh, I don't really, want this to be reposted or reshared, then that's something that as a brand, it might be hard, but we have to respect it and just pull that post down as soon as possible. Don't just disregard the creator's feelings or requests and keep the post live. Thank you. Thank you, everybody that has joined. This has been amazing.
I agree. Yeah, thanks for joining us today and sitting through. Like I said, feel free to connect with us afterwards if you want to have a more in-depth discussion. We'd be happy to do that. You can find us at Chatterkick on our handles on social or chatterkick.com.
Okay.
Thanks, y'all, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.